Yeah. Good evening, Daytona Beach. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the April 17th, 2024 business meeting of the Daytona Beach CRA, that is our Community Redevelopment Agency. We're delighted to have each of you with us. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Strickland?
Here.
Commissioner May? Here. Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Paris?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here. We will now have the invocation led by Commissioner Henry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Strickland.
Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather. We are so blessed to be here today. We ask and pray that you guide us, that you continue to love us, continue to teach us, and continue to bless us. We uplift you today, Heavenly Father. We ask and pray that you uplift all of our citizens today. In Jesus' name, this is the prayer I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move on to the approval of the minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency.
Take a motion from Commissioner Reed in a second. Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll now move on to our agenda approval. If there are changes, our city manager will read them.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, there are no changes for the CRA meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. It's a presentation of the City of Daytona Beach and Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University collaboration.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. My name is Phoebe Fuquay, Redevelopment Project Manager for the Redevelopment Department, and I am happy to say that we had a wonderful collaboration with Embry-Riddle students. With this collaboration, they were acting as consultants for the Redevelopment Department. As consultants, they were to provide us with solutions. We expressed to them the pulse of our department, expressed to them all 5 CRAs, and also finding out what the pulse of the community is with each CRA department, well, CRA area. Their job was to capture data, come back with solutions, and also provide a community event. They, as consultants, they experienced some changes. They experienced how local government works. Also, they learned different job opportunities that they were able to possibly entertain in the future, and also how we work in the redevelopment department. So you'll have 3 students present to you what they gained from working with our redevelopment department. This opportunity has opened up collaboration with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and this is something that we'll be continuing on in the coming semesters.
Thank you, Phoebe, for the intro. Good evening to the mayor, city manager, and all the commissioners.
Good evening.
Thank you. So, just a little bit of background. As Phoebe said, we've been working with her this past semester in the Redevelopment and Neighborhood Services Department. And so, as she had mentioned, we originally planned to do an event as well for the city over on Beach Street on the Esplanade, but unfortunately that had changed. And so we had gone forward and done a survey of the local 5 CRAs just to get a pulse of the local businesses in the areas, just to see which resources they need to sustain themselves and to continue moving forward. So just a little bit of background about ourselves. My name's Kyle Penta. I'm a junior from Embry-Riddle, and I study aeronautical science, which is our pilot program. My minor is in business administration, and I am from Blackstone, Massachusetts.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cheyenne Halstead. I'm studying aerospace engineering. I'm currently a senior, about to graduate. My minor is project management. I'm originally from Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Brazel. I'm majoring in business administration, and I'm a little more local than my partners. I am from Lake Mary, Florida.
All right. So just a little bit more about our project, as we had mentioned before. So this is for our professional consulting class at Embry-Riddle. And so at the beginning of the semester, we get assigned a client. So we were assigned the city of Daytona Beach. And so, like I said, city of Daytona Beach. And so our main objective was to just increase public interactions and cohesiveness with local government and really stress that pulse of the community and, you know, figuring out what the city, local businesses really need. So the survey questions that we asked the local businesses, so just a couple demographic questions. So what's the name of the business? What type of business do they have? Ethnicity, age, and gender of the business owner. How many employees each business has. And how long they've been in business. And then the three main questions that we really asked them and got some discussion about was, how can the city of Daytona Beach be a resource to them? What are additional resources they need to sustain their business going forward? And then this one really got discussion going with the businesses, is if you had a magic wand, what is one thing that you'd want to change about Daytona Beach? And so the survey, as I mentioned before, focused on the 5 CRA areas, Blue Road, Downtown, Main Street, Midtown, and the South Atlantic areas, which we got to know those areas very well throughout this project, as Phoebe really stressed with the names of all the different CRAs and getting to know them. So now into our survey and what we collected in the field. So we're going to start with the Downtown and Blue Road CRA survey data that we collected. So types of businesses surveyed. Yep, so the types of business that we surveyed were retail, food and beverage, and entertainment, and all the businesses had less than 20 staff members, so they are truly local businesses. Let's see if that pops up. And so there's a little pie chart that just shows the spread of those businesses that we surveyed. So mainly retail, and then just a couple from food and beverage, entertainment, and service, as food and beverage is very busy during the time of day, to just get some answers out of them. And so the owners of all the businesses that we surveyed were, you know, very diverse in ethnicity and also age. So we mainly had Caucasian males that we were surveying, but also the age of the owners in the downtown area, most of them, or 50% of them, were over 40. So that was an interesting point. And so the businesses in the conducted survey area have a wide variety of time that they've been in the downtown area. But as you can see, most of them were older than 6 years up. You know, you can see 33 years and 15 years. So those were long established businesses in the area.
The question that we asked was, how can the city of Daytona Beach be a resource? And what you're seeing here is a word map, and it may just look like a bunch of words all over the place, but as you can tell, there are words such as local businesses and networking appear to be larger. This is due to the fact that the responses that we got, these were frequently used more. For instance, businesses were talking about promotion of their local businesses in their area. Also networking, they talked a lot about communicating within each other. They kind of promote with each other and their businesses to kind of grow. And then some of the statements that we got back from the question, what are additional resources to sustain your business? One of the answers that we found very intriguing was less abandoned buildings to help with the public perception, kind of just a wide variety of scenery, kind of promote and bring in more people. Also cheaper uniform and linen supplier, they're looking for cheaper kind of workers and to bring in more people. Also more staff and a marketing budget, just kind of variety, hire more staff in their area. And mainly just upkeep in the area in the streets due to the fact that they, again, want to just keep bringing more people in to kind of promote their businesses. This brings us to our next question that they found very interesting with this question was, if you had a magic wand, what is one thing that you would fix about Daytona Beach? And again, you can see words such as homelessness and traffic were frequently brought up more than others. They talked about just kind of like a permanent solution to the homelessness in their area. Also with traffic, they were talking about kind of clearing up traffic. A lot of them said more so on down by the speedway, kind of clearing it up, especially after work hours.
Okay. So that was the downtown area. Now we're moving on to South Atlantic and Main Street CRA area. And for those that don't know, that's down by the beach. So once again, the types of businesses that we surveyed were mainly retail, food and beverage, and service. This one actually had a bit more variety compared to the downtown area. And so the owners, ethnicity, also mainly Caucasian, and ages of those owners also varied, but this also had actually higher age than downtown. So that's interesting to note as well. And so then just how long they've been in business. This actually had even higher long-established businesses. There was only one that was very new. The rest were all 7 years plus. So I also note that. I feel like this area needs more like new local businesses going forward. So that's something that the city should take to a point. So now Cheyenne will answer the questions.
Yes, so the question was asked, how can the city of Daytona Beach be a resource? Right back to those questions. Again, another word map. This section really wanted events sectioned in their area. Obviously, this area is going to thrive off events like spring break, bike week, but they want more of a steady stream of events to keep that business going, as well as advertising. So advertising towards that side of town would be helpful towards them. Also like beach focus, so that goes hand in hand with advertising, as well as just in general advertising how the city is advertising now, making it more attractive. And then again, additional resources you need to sustain your business. They actually listed the broken seawall pretty frequently, something I honestly did not expect, but makes sense. Another comment was that tourists often cite that there needs to be more public restrooms, so kind of help with that tourist, help there to get tourists to like the area. More events, again, attracting regular foot traffic and the locals. And then more partnership with the city, specifically for that area, and then more supply stores. So kind of like the previous area, supply stores is kind of another thing that they're looking at. So the magic wand question, the favorite question. They often cited A1A revitalization. So they cited that it used to be kind of like the up and up area that people went to, attracted to, shop there a lot. And they kind of want that whole area to be more attractive again, to get those people to come over there. Again, the seawall, which I hear you guys are working on, and they also cited concerns of previous corruption, so just to see kind of what they're thinking. And then again, homelessness, a pretty good through line of trying to find a permanent solution for that issue.
And so then finally we have the Midtown CRA survey area. And just as a note, for this one we went out and tried to survey with 9 local businesses. We did only get 3 responses in this area, and this is an ongoing effort obviously, and we would like to continue this with our other students in upcoming semesters. But so for this area, survey data was mainly service industry. And the owners were across the board because there are only 3, as well in age. And so then the years in business, we had 2 that were 10 and 8 years, and then the one that was pretty new. They also talked to us about how it was for them to get started. And so this one goes back to Dylan, or was it Cheyenne? Yeah, Cheyenne, sorry.
Okay, so that same question, how can the city of Daytona Beach be a resource for them? For this area, they want more advertising, and again, reducing homelessness is like a broken record. But another one, we were talking with this one gentleman, he was saying that he doesn't get a lot of customers, so maybe suggesting give them some more money basically so that they're more apt to spend money. Kind of just what came of that is to increase city wage, just his comments, paraphrased of course. That way they're more likely to spend their money. And then in this area, they really are concerned about flooding, which is probably no surprise, but they really want to improve that drainage system. That way they're not as affected. So there was one business that actually was about to open, and then the hurricane came through and it completely ruined their store. They had to basically open up later by like a year or 2. So, magic wand question, once again. So right there you see big, bold flooding, homelessness. and then a little bit of advertising. Kind of once they get the basis check, they're going to want to attract more people, more customers to get their business booming.
All right, well, so just some closing remarks. After going out into all 5 CRA areas, our main thing that we did here was homelessness. So we suggest trying to find a permanent solution to this. We know that the city is going with Beach Street with the 60-day program, but after that, really figuring out what can we do for the citizens to solve the homelessness issue that we have going on currently. And this has been a continued issue, and we understand that. As I had mentioned before, this is going to be an ongoing effort with upcoming classes for this professional consulting class. So we do hope that Embry-Riddle continues this collaboration with the city and just continuing projects to make changes with the city and partner with you guys. And so that's about that. And then it was just really interesting hearing all the stories from all the business owners, seeing what they see and trying to figure out, how can we pair the city with them? Because, some of them don't really get involved with local government as much, and so this was pretty much their way to get their voice heard, which is really interesting, and I think we've learned a lot about the city and just bring the city to our campus, essentially. So now we'd be happy to answer any questions or comments and how we can improve this project going forward with collaboration with the city.
Commissioner?
So I'm Commissioner May, and I'm actually your city commissioner for the university, and Commissioner Reed was the previous commissioner there. So I've done some work with different programs there. I would absolutely love to do a follow-up with you. Mm-hmm. Couple of comments. What was your data set? What was your sample size? Was it just a small data set or just a snippet? What was the size?
So, yes,
especially downtown. What was the number?
So yeah, it was a small sample size.
What's the number?
Roughly 7 of each area.
Okay. So, so part of professional consulting is defense. So here we go. Off the top of my head, I can name 4 businesses that are female-owned, which already takes your 7 down. Right? So finding out some more of the female-owned population of the business down there, because there are multiples. I'm one of them. How did you select your sample size for each area?
We pretty much went randomly down the street. So we gave 1 hour for each area, try to play it as fair as possible. We had a pretty tight timeline once we kind of postponed the event and went towards, excuse me, the survey. Mm-hmm. So we spent about an hour for each one, mm-hmm. And just as far as we could go, went down the street, mm-hmm. As much as we could within mm-hmm. an hour. And
then what was your sample size for Beachside and also the Midtown area, for each area, do you know?
So let's see, we went to 9 businesses down on Beachside, and then 7 of them responded, and then Midtown 9, only 3 responded.
Okay, and then with regard to your word pictogram, right? Did they give any solutions as to what the business people that you spent 7, 9, and 9, 3, I guess, did they give you any solutions to the problems? For example, one of them that I found intriguing was corruption. So did they give any examples of what this meant to them or how they wanted to solve it? Were they aware of what is being done with regard to homelessness or flooding or not?
I was going to say, for the homeless one, I can think of, let's see, one specific business comes to mind where they were trying to say, the issue isn't really drugs per se, and that homelessness doesn't affect, just people that have that issue. It could be anything, and that her own son had experienced homelessness, so she really, felt with that, and she really wants something that's not just displacing people. So she proposed more of like a place that they could go, not per se a shelter, but more of a long-term type of solution, try to get them back on their feet and integrate them back into society. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing with that. And then, for the corruption, that was a long-standing business. And so they've had, 40 plus years within, and they were a resident their entire lives. Their entire family as well has been in Daytona Beach for a long time. So they're just talking about, over time, they've seen a lot of different things happening here, and they just feel like it should be improved. And that's where the corruption comes into play.
Okay, so absolutely would love to have a conversation with you, and part of my research is actually research on how to conduct it and then statistics. So I'm intrigued to see more of your data. I'm looking forward to having you guys. But anytime you want to ask me questions about, since I'm also myself and Commissioner Reed too, and then Commissioner Strickland, we're part of the Downtown CRA, the Beachside CRA, the Midtown CRA. So I would love to have a further conversation with you and maybe direct you to some businesses who maybe have opened up, who are new and who are eager to have a conversation with you.
Thank you for your time.
Any additional questions?
No additional questions, but I'd like to thank you. I think this is the first time we've done this. So this is the inaugural class. You know I'm proud of you because you know who I am. And so just keep up the good work. Best wishes, Cheyenne, on graduating. Thank you. All right. And I think they did an excellent job for the first time.
Too. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
I do have a question. As when you graduate, enter the workforce, what would make you want to stay in Daytona?
So I'm like aeronautical, so planes. Around here, they have a little bit of like manufacturing, like 3D printing, stuff like that. But there's nothing really that attracts me. Of course, there's the airport, but you know, I have a spot with Boeing, so I'm looking like at a Fortune 500 company. But definitely, I know like a lot of people in my degree, they want more of a bigger company. Of course, Boeing is kind of getting on our campus a lot more and building that connection. But you know, for me, I've got that opportunity down in Titusville, so I was kind of signed it, and I was like, okay, here we go. But yeah, maybe some more like aerospace related. Because it's more down Titusville area, a little bit in Orlando, Jacksonville, different programs there. It's kind of like not a dead zone, but not a lot of big players in this area. There's of course Braun for like manufacturing medical supplies, I believe, but for aerospace specifically, that's why like for me, that was the little bit of a fault there. I just went to Titusville. Yep.
So I'm a junior, and so I'm in the pilot program. So I was looking into, you know, I have to get my hours after. If you guys aren't familiar with how, you know, going to a commercial airline works, you have to get up to 1,000 hours with Embry-Riddle's current program. So I would have to build those hours because I'm only at like 140 right now. So I could possibly be a flight instructor over at Embry-Riddle if I wanted to, or I could go back home to my flight school. So pretty much what would keep me here was if housing were cheaper to stay here, because that's a big thing, and I know students are pushed off of our campus after 2 years. We only guarantee housing for our first 2 years, so next year is going to be a big change for me because it'll be my 3rd year at the university. I'll be graduating next year, so I expedited my degree by doing summer classes, so that way I don't have to stay for a 4th year and have to pay for housing. So if we had cheaper housing for students after they're gone, that'd be better. Just because of the price is over $1,000 now.
Do you happen to know where they're staying right now, the students that you know who are off campus? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know where they're staying?
So we have a lot of.
So just to give you an example, so I live at Bellamy. My rent right now, I'll be fully open, is $725. They're now going for people who are signing the lease right now $1,000. So I only signed that lease maybe a year ago. So you can, I don't know if it's just that apartment or if it's kind of across the board, but I know specifically that one, you know, that's a huge increase.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be going to onshore next year, which is another student-focused housing. And that is going to be over $1,000. That's for one student, by the way, and it's a 4-person apartment. Yes, it's a quad and it's 1,000 per person. So it's 4.
Shared living?
So you get your own bedroom and bathroom. So there's 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a shared living room and kitchen. And so it's $4,000. Yeah, $4,000 for the unit essentially, and that's not including utilities.
Yep.
Wow. But don't forget,
Back you on that.
as a flight student, that you can get hired full-time as an IP.
Yes.
That's an
And then you can get your
instructional pilot to
master's,
teach other
yeah.
students how to fly. Full benefits and get your master's for free.
Exactly.
You have to pay the taxes on the master's.
Oh, and so I already intend on staying close to the area, being that I've lived in Florida my entire life. And ever since I attended Embry-Riddle, I've started to kind of grow more to the area. Like when I was in Lake Mary, I kind of went more towards like New Smyrna area, just because that's where I was growing up going. But once I attended here, I kind of fell in love with the place, so I'm kind of hoping to stay here with whatever I do.
Yeah, and you're on the baseball team.
And I'm on the baseball team.
All right. Any other questions about us? No? Well, I'd just like to thank you guys for having us tonight and sharing about our project. And I hope that other students will continue this effort and that you guys can also see them speaking here in our place next time around in the fall. So thank you.
Thank you. That was good. Good job. Thank you all.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 7, which is our administrative items. Item number 7A is a redevelopment and neighborhood services, approval of purchase of contract for 551 South Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, 4 vacant parcels located on South Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, and 1 vacant parcel on Division Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. This is a resolution approving the expenditure of GPM 2023 Midtown Community Redevelopment Area Loan Fund to purchase 6 parcels of land owned by Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, including the church site located at 551 South Martin Luther King Boulevard, and 5 additional vacant parcels immediately located north of the church site for a total purchase price of $350,000 plus $10,000 closing costs, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait,
Present.
yeah. Yes, I am a member of Shiloh, and I talked to our attorney, and there's no conflict, so I do not need to abstain from the vote. And he told me, actually, I cannot abstain from the vote, but I want it on the record. There's no conflict. I'm on no boards or anything.
And no seller.
Okay.
We just wanted that for the record, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Good, good. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Michelle Tolliver, the Redevelopment Project Manager for Midtown, and I'd like to share with you the proposed purchase for the property for item 7A. Our plans are to change the way we look in Midtown, and as you can see in this aerial, in the shaded area is the former Shiloh Church, the parsonage, which is the adjacent house, and then there are actually 5 vacant lots, 4 of them along MLK and 1 of them on Division Street. The current church building has a basement level which served as the fellowship hall. The first level served as the sanctuary space, and the second level had a balcony for seating. Just to give you a little history on Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, in 1922, Shiloh split from Mount Bethel Baptist Institutional Church, and Shiloh initially held services in a small house, and the church was built in 1925. In 2007, church services moved to a new building across the street at 540 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Midtown Redevelopment has established goals and objectives. One of our goals is to assemble property necessary to carry out the redevelopment plan. One of our other goals is to encourage development that increase employment and the tax base. One of our other goals is to increase regional investment in the area. And as we do this, we'd like to collaborate with private partners and offer the community hope for a better future. Our objectives: eliminate blight and create development projects like a museum, housing, retail and office space, or public space to help stitch the fabric of the Midtown community. The property surrounding the former Shiloh building, at the top picture is the intersection of Cedar Street and Dr. King Boulevard, and the lower picture is the intersection of Loomis Avenue and Dr. King Boulevard. And we're pointing out these areas because in order to make this proposed purchase really effective, we have to take a serious look at the vacant lots and the blighted properties that are surrounding the area, and we're hoping to redevelop those as well.
So there may be additional purchases that we come to you with related to this purchase if this passes. The next slide is the current zoning, which is RDM 5, redevelopment, Midtown, neighborhood transition, mixed use. And my last slide for this presentation is the current land use, which is the commercial transition for the properties facing Dr. King Boulevard. And then the level 1 residential is the one property on Division Street. So this ends my presentation for this part, and I'm going to turn my clicker over to Phoebe for her to finish her part. Good evening again, Mayor and Commissioners. I will be going over the proposed development options. There we go. As you can see, this is the existing aerial view of Shiloh. To the bottom right in the hidden lines, you will see the lift station. To the top left, the hidden lines is the future purchase that we will acquire. This is the first option, which is the African American Museum development. This is option 1. This is the site view. As you can see, you have 2 entries, one from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and to the right is Cedar Street. The museum project will have an elevated building above the flood level elevation, and the site will be in the floodplain. We will have stormwater retention in the areas to keep up to code as well as to keep to site. The site is 0.9 acres. This site has 14 parking spaces, including 2 ADA accessible spaces. This is a new site work, new off-street paved parking, landscaping, and stormwater retention. The facility is 9,500 square feet. This is a remodel as well as new construction, and I will elaborate a little bit more on where we will demo on the existing structure. All areas are ADA accessible, up to date on the current code. We have a lobby, entryway, circulation space, a 2-story gallery view with flex space, office, storage units, as well as an enhancement to the historical site. The existing building had a basement, and what we did with this, it was a basement, your second story, and then the partial third story. What we did in this particular concept was we demoed the basement to make sure that the entire building was elevated to prevent flooding, and with that, we pretty much took off the roof in the concept and elevated the entire building so we can have a full accessible, which would be the new second story, and if you compare it to the previous or the existing plan, would be the third story. As you can see, this is the floor plan option. This floor plan option to the left is the first level. And you have the open entryway where you have an elevator to the left as well as the stair access to the right. When you move forward in the main gallery, you have natural lighting. The natural lighting enhances the entire room, and it provides natural lighting. The parallel lines that you see are fixed lighting to show more of a highlighted area to the exhibits. If you move forward to the multi-purpose area, this multi-purpose area with theater seating can seat 50 people. With tables and chairs, you can have about 25 people sitting there. On both sides of the multi-purpose area, you have a men's restroom as well as a women's restroom. You have storage space on both sides. This entire area that you see on the top of this floor plan, that is the new construction. We had to demo that part of the existing church
because we wanted to make sure that we had ADA accessibility for the entire building, as well as more space for storage. To the right, you will see this is the second level, the second story. You have the bottom, which is the lobby, the elevators to the left, the stairs to the right. And as you can see in the middle, it says open to below. This shows where the natural lighting is coming from the ceiling and from the roof as well. On both sides, you have fixed lighting structure to show the exhibits. And this is something that can be moved and changed as the seasons change for the exhibits. To the top, you have the administrative suite. In the administrative suite, you have a few options. You have a multi-purpose area. You also have office spaces and studio spaces. This is encouraging our local artists and our local collectors to have a space to store, and also meeting spaces. Okay, this is elevation. We wanted to capture and keep the natural beauty of the existing building. So this building was built in the 1920s. In the 1920s, they did not have the ADA accessibility, so the stairs were very steep. And what we did was we enhanced this the rise for the stairs and lowered the rise for the stairs, providing a more accessible playing field for the stairs, as well as a ramp. The ADA ramp comes from the parking lot and making it easy and accessible for those who are accessibly challenged. As you can see with the middle picture, the middle image, that back option, I wish I had a mouse I can really show you, but the back part of the building that looks like it's a little detached, that is the new construction. To the top left of the building, of the existing building, there is a bell that's there. And to keep that natural feel and to keep the history, the bell will still be there. When it comes to economic impact, there's a few things that I would like to address. The economic impact will be culture and tourism attraction. This will increase foot traffic to this particular area in the Midtown CRA. We'll also have job creation in the CRA. We'll have educational impact, not only educating those individuals about the local African American history, but also educating individuals about future projects that will be happening in this particular concept. And most of all, community engagement. Having the community have a space where not only you can hear the history of African American history in this museum, but have space for multi-purpose space, renting space, as well as having the community engagement come together for art and culture. Our next option, this is option 2. Option 2 is affordable housing development. With the affordable housing development, this site is 1.1 acres. It's 32 parking spaces with 4 ADA accessible parking spaces. This is a new elevated site with paved parking, landscaping, stormwater retention. Also, the housing option provides an elevated site as well to make sure that the site is above the floor, the flood level elevation. This concept is above flood level elevation and has underground storage capacity, which is required, and it depends on how detailed we will be according to budget. With this particular concept, you have 2-story housing, which is 24 units, and we also have 12 units that are 900 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, 12 units that are 400 square feet, 1-bedroom, 1-bath units, and it's a common covered exterior area of 1,040 square feet, flex common community area of 1,250 square feet, a covered exterior circulation with an elevator, as well as the CMU concrete construction. As you can see, here is a zoomed in concept of the 3 units. The unit to the left is an ADA accessible unit. As you can see, this is a wider unit to providing accessibility. You have your standard common area, which is your living room, your dining room, kitchen, and two bedrooms with 2 bathrooms. The middle 2 units, as you can see, these are 1-bedroom options. This has your common area with 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom with your common living room and dining room. To the right is your standard 2-bedroom apartment concept. Here are some elevations. These elevations show how each one of the units have a covering over their either their door or their window. So when they open their window, they still will have a nice ambiance and it will be covered, because with our weather, our inclement weather, we have an array of different challenges when it comes to weather, but they have that option for covering. Also, they have an option for outdoor seating as well. This particular concept, you can see you have a parking lot view, so you can see how it looks from there. And I want to focus your attention to the right 2 concepts. This particular concept shows the common area. This common area with a glass fixture, this will be a nice facelift to the community. This is facing the corner of the particular parcel. So on both sides, you have Dr. MLK Boulevard and also Cedar Street. In this common area, you have various options. This is where the mail will be. They can capture the mail. The receptionist will be there. And then also any type of common amenities that this particular development will have. Also do want to express that we're proposing a gated community to keep any type of additional visitors from coming in. The economic impact will be addressing the housing shortage. Also economic stimulus and long-term economic impact. When we talk about numbers, as far as with the unit, according to HUD, and this is an approximate HUD fair market value rate, for the 1-bedroom units will go at $1,152, and that will be for 12 units. That will yield $13,824 a month, which will yield $165,888 a year. As far as the 2-bedroom units, will be for $1,413, which will yield $16,956 a month, and for a year, $203,000 a year. This is, again, this is an approximate HUD fair market rate. Option 3, which is the last option. This particular option is a mixed-use development. I do want to express that originally we were looking at a concept for 2 levels, but this, as we begin to develop and see the need and express about the economic impact, our future plans will be for 3 stories. This mixed use is 1.1 acres. It's 32 parking spaces, including 4 ADA accessible parking spaces. It's a new elevated site with paved parking, landscaping, stormwater retention. And again, originally it was 2 levels, but now we're proposing for 3. So you will see 2 on here. So it will be for, again, for 24 units on the 2nd and 3rd floor, and on the 1st floor it will be the retail, which is the mixed use and commercial. As you can see here, this is the site plan for the retail at the bottom on the 1st floor, the retail or the commercial use. Same concept with 2 entry and exit ways, and like I expressed, the hidden lines show the future purchase, and then the hidden line at the top right is the lift station. This is a blown up version of some options when it comes to retail and commercial. The top left, you have an option for a restaurant, a cafe. To the right, you have an option for an open bay. This is a little over 1,200 square feet. Can be multi-purpose use. The bottom, you have options for office spaces or meeting spaces. These are your options at the bottom. This is the site view for the second and third level. Again, this is the residential concept. Just like I stated before, same layout as far as the floor plan. You have your ADA accessible unit, your 1-bedroom units, as well as your standard 2-bedroom units. These are your elevations, very similar to the other residential options, but this has a different feel to it. You have more of an outdoor seating for a cafe. You also have outdoor seating for even the residents on the second story, as well as the third story. And the common areas will be mixed use. The first level will have your reception area and also information, as well as your mail. And on the second level and as well as the third level, these options will be for any type of amenities that the apartment complex as well as the retail will have. Let's talk about economic impact. When we talk about economic impact, you're looking at the increase of retail and residential partnership. You have a diverse option of various economics that will be going throughout the area, so you have more foot traffic. You will have an array of people that will want to come to this area. As you can see on the bottom right, you see the paved sidewalks that lead to the actual building. This shows where the restaurants, or you have walkable communities, so people can walk in and come to the restaurant or the businesses. And it also shows the continuous collaboration. We have job creations. We're creating more jobs, having the retail and commercial use at the bottom, and then also community engagement, depending on how we use the retail and commercial usage. Do we have any questions? That concludes our concepts. Do you have any questions about any of the concepts?
I do. Thank you
Sure.
for a wonderful presentation. I know you mentioned a couple of times about this is going to bring in jobs. Do you know what kind of jobs?
That's a great question. So right now we're proposing having cafes or various type of commercial businesses right now because we don't have commitments for who will be in these particular units. I can't answer that question.
Okay. The other question I had, who would be responsible for building these options?
Yeah, so we are in communication with various developers who are interested in doing development here in the city of Daytona Beach, and we're encouraging them to come to our CRA area. So conversations with a few developers who are interested, and that's where we will put out an RFP for this particular project.
By any chance, do you have like an estimated cost of any of these options?
Sure, I can give you an opinionated cost of each option. And I do want to keep in mind this is an opinionated cost. This is not actually what it will cost. I do want to stress that. So when you're looking at the first concept that I provided to you, the African American Museum development, opinionated cost is between $4.8 million to $5.4 million. When you're looking at the affordable housing concept, which was option 2, that estimated cost is $4.2 million to $4.8 million. And the mixed use opinionated cost, we have at $3.2 million to $3.8 million. And I do want to stress this is an opinionated cost based off of the materials we were looking at. And also keep in mind, whenever a developer does develop this project, their performance would look different than an estimated cost or opinionated cost.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm just glad that we were offered some suggestions on what it could possibly be. I will tell you that this was probably my last initiative when I was a commissioner for this zone. I met with the pastor, I met with members of the church, and some of them are here with us today, and with Ken from Redevelopment to try to bring this to us. And this is a part of the Midtown plan of how we want to, as they've indicated, how we want to bring about change, how we want to have more of a walkable and sustainable community. I will tell you what I was pushing for, but now that I've heard the three possibilities, I won't stand on that. I was pushing for an African American museum because I thought that would be an excellent something to do with the church. But we have folks that need somewhere to live. So looking at those other two options, I'm more leaning towards those when we come to that kind of a decision. But I believe that this is something that that community needs. It's something that we've been pushing forward for. It's something we've said we want to do. And so I will be in favor of this evening.
Yes?
So my question always is, we purchase the property, do we have a timeline, a sense of 6 months, 1 year, just we purchase it and we hold, we purchase and we wait? What are we looking at for that?
It actually depends on the development times, what developers come, the cost of these projects. We're trying to acquire these properties to make sure that we can work with different individuals to move forward. So it's basically really based on the times. As both Michelle and Phoebe stated, we're going to do an RFP to get a developer to come in and say they want to move it. And our goal is not to just allow these properties to sit, but actually for them to get developed.
Any other comments from y'all?
Not on the project, but just on the contract.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, I don't have any more questions on the project, just on the revisions to the contract.
Yes, can everybody hear me? Yeah. Commissioner, you had asked about a provision that's in the contract for purchase and sale that would allow the church to continue to occupy a portion of the property for 90 days. You had concerns about that. So we checked with staff, and the purpose of that is to allow the parsonage building to be emptied out over that 90-day period. At one point, I think they'd wanted the parson to be able to stay during that period, but it would just be to empty out the furnishings and materials. And to address your concern, staff approached the church about agreeing to an additional condition on the purchase and sales contract, which would need to be added as part of your recommendation, that occupancy would be subject to a 90-day lease that wouldn't charge them a rent, but would require them to be responsible for property damage or injury to persons during that time, as well as to provide insurance in support of that obligation.
Makes sense.
Do I have to make a motion for that, or is it just included if you said staff
Well,
spoke about it already?
When it comes time to move approval, you could amend it to include the recommendation that I just made.
May I now? Okay, I'd like to make,
Commissioner Reed made the motion and Commissioner May was the second.
thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Strickland?
The RFP, how long before we can issue the RFP?
Staff is already working on that. If you all approve this at the commission meeting, we'll be putting an RFP together to send out.
And how long will that take?
I'm not sure of the time frame. Some of them are 30 days, 60, 90 days. But it'll
Thank
go
you.
out. I just told Ken to do some work fast, that's all.
We have no other comments? Okay.
And I have no speakers for this item.
All right. I have no comments. Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 7B, The Redevelopment and Neighborhood Services, Public Works, City Island Shoreline Enhancement, Fine Grant Submission and Acceptance. This is a resolution. A resolution approving the expenditure of tax increment funds from the Redevelopment Downtown Area Trust Fund in an amount up to $1,300,000 to provide required matching funds to partially cover the costs for Phase 2 construction of City Island Shoreline Enhancement Project grant from the Florida Inland Navigation District Fund to the City of Daytona Beach and providing an effective date.
Second.
Got a motion, we got a second. Do we have any speakers?
I do have a speaker, Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. As you know, I'm a holistic thinker. This is not going to be a project in isolation. As you know, we did the Esplanade across the intercoastal. They have, or did, increase the height of their seawall, I think, an inch. All right? An inch doesn't really help a whole heck of a lot. If you've been to the Esplanade, next to the water, there's the sidewalk, and then there's a wall. Most of their plantings are on a raised platform. So when the river rises, that area will flood, and Beach Street will flood. The woman that's in charge of the Volusia County library system would like to have the seawall around it raised because their library is flooded twice, all right? So I'm asking you to think about how high we want to raise this, because having it constantly flood doesn't make any sense, all right? If we're going to do this, and I believe we're committing $30 million to the ball club, we would not want to have that flooded either. So the whole concept, either you flood or you don't flood. If you have an opportunity now not to flood, I would ask you guys to seriously consider raising it more than an inch to a height that where the library would not flood, and the new building for the baseball team will not flood, and the renovated rec center will not flood. And hopefully whatever we build on the old courthouse site will not flood. Thank you.
That was my only speaker, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
That was our final agenda item for the
All right.
CRA.
Do we have any speakers for the, or questions or comments from the commission regarding the CRA?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
This is in reference to the property that we purchased in July of 2023 on Earl Street and Peninsula. That was the location of the old church. I know that at the last CRA meeting, it was brought up that it might be a parking lot. When it was presented to us, we spoke about having some market rate housing there. In that area, there are multiple parking lots. I don't know if that would be beneficial to something, and if we're talking about approving these type of projects, also like how long an RFP is actually going to take to go out. But it's almost been a year, and we've had this property with nothing happening. So I just want to see what's going on with this, if everyone's okay with it might becoming a parking lot, because I'm not.
Who has, go ahead, I don't. I don't care. It's a parking lot.
Ken Thomas wants to come up. There's, I will say as he's coming up, there are discussions relative to the whole redevelopment of that area. So I'll let him share with the commission.
Yeah, Ken Thomas, redevelopment director. At our last meeting, there was a question that came up about that particular piece of property, and I indicated that our number one priority was building townhouses, market rate townhouses on that property. But I also mentioned about a parking garage, and I should have elaborated. We don't want parking garage on that property, but because of, the county is looking, as well as the city, providing more parking spaces, that particular piece of property may be considered for, leverage to work with the county. But our number one priority should still stand the same, is to build townhouses. And we've already started the RFP process. We've gotten our documentation together. So we're going to put that out on the street, and that'll go out on the street next month, May, to solicit a developer.
Thank you.
We have to always remember that when we are in our redevelopment areas, that they are the part of a much larger plan of action. So one particular parcel or project should ultimately tie into a much larger plan. And when you look at your beachside, in particular, Main Street area, your big partner is the county. And we always want to remember that if we have something to partner with them, that it may be a carrot to get something even better done. So that's just the way I've read things over the years. And I also would comment on, just the possibility. I know how difficult it is, and, $350,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in the real marketplace when you're talking about the possibility of every possibility that you looked at was from, what, $3 to $6 million, $3.5 to $6 million, I think I heard. So you never, that parcel is much more valuable than it could bring a much greater return to the community than that cost. So I didn't look at the cost as that exorbitant in any way. And of course, I liked all of the ideas. I have talked ad nauseum, of course, and met with folks and considered the possibility of us being able to create a African American History Museum, so that deeply resonated with me. But the other projects, of course, our number one objective as a commission is creating affordable units. And we would like to do that in that area, because one of the ways to make that area stronger is also to get more density. We have to get more people living in that community. It is an ideal site, however, also for a museum because of its location and the history of that area as it relates to Daytona Beach. But a museum is a much, I believe, and from my perspective, a much bigger challenge, both financially and from an operational perspective. To get someone who would be able to operate it and to get the finances to build it is almost a Herculean effort. But at any rate, thank you for bringing that forward. All of the ideas resonate well with me. There are no further questions, comments? All right, this will conclude our CRA meeting, and we will restart or start our regularly scheduled commission meeting as quickly as Ms. LaMagna tells me that we can.